Alrighty, so hello everyone. I just want to say thank you for taking the time to watch my video and kind of look over my slides. I really do appreciate that. My strategy presentation is going to be off of collaborative reading, and it's going to be like what to do when they can't read the textbook. By me, Lauren Aaron Beatty. So let me go ahead and get started and teach you a little bit about collaborative reading. Right here. I just wanted to start off with like a little bit like of a question for you guys, so that way you guys can kind of like start to get in your head. If you've ever felt a time where this strategy might be useful. So as a student, have you ever been in a group and couldn't fully read, or maybe you couldn't comprehend what the textbook was saying? And by this, I kind of just mean like sometimes maybe think maybe when you were younger, were you ever in a group with a group of students, and you just couldn't comprehend the text? Maybe it was just a little too difficult. The text might have been a little bit too hard for you yourself, or maybe you just kind of felt like, whoa, I definitely like need to look back at this, and reread it again. Or maybe just even maybe for my English language learners that are out there that may be listening to this video, and maybe you just thought maybe this level text you just didn't understand it maybe at all. So those are kind of things that I kind of want you to think about when you were in a group. Did you ever feel this way? So let me just keep going. Maybe in that group, some students were able to fully read the text and everything seemed to click very well when they did read the text. For other students, they may have looked for like bolded words and focused on what was the main idea to understand the text. And what I mean by this is just like in a, like when students are looking, they're looking at maybe like the bolded words, they're looking for italicized words, maybe they're looking for like things that are going to pop out to them that are the main idea in these books. Especially like maybe if you're teaching the younger students and there are no pictures for them to make connections, that's definitely going to be a struggle for the reader to comprehend what is going on in the text. And then maybe some of the students just could have been couldn't have been able to read the textbook at all, which is very possible to happen inside your classroom. So these are things that like may could have happened when you're doing a group. And so collaborative reading is just going to be a good strategy to differentiate different reading levels and how it's going to best fit your students. So let me go ahead and just kind of teach you about that. So this is where the strategy collaborative reading comes in. So, what is collaborative reading? Collaborative reading is a strategy that allows for groups of students to engage in reading from text as they gather information on a specific topic. Students use a variety of texts with the information. These books are selected by the teacher to provide a wide range of different reading levels to meet the needs of the students within the group. It provides a method for all students, no matter their reading abilities, to participate in a group reading / research activity. It allows for all students to contribute in a group when collecting information. From one of my references, collaborative reading is an instructional practice in teaching reading comprehension to students to enhance content area learning. So it's just like a breakdown of that. Collaborative reading is going to be a teacher is going to be able to focus on like a specific topic. Maybe they're learning about different things, and this of course can be done in all several different content areas, but they can focus in on one topic, and that teacher can go ahead and look at her students and be able to see, okay, based on their reading levels, how can I make sure that all students are going to understand what this topic is when they read this text. So just kind of differentiating those books and making sure that when you do select a group, that you do have books that everyone is going to be able to read. Even if you have some high readers, have books that are going to keep them interested, that are high. If you have some lower students with lower reading levels, of course you can go ahead and get them that level of reading text that is going to be appropriate for them, and they're going to be able to engage in conversation and understand the topic with their peers. So that's kind of what the collaborative reading is. So how is collaborative reading a good strategy for English language learners? Collaborative reading is beneficial to English language learners because the students are able to read the text at their own reading level. ELLs are also working with a group of students and are able to add to the conversation about the topic that they are studying. ELLs are able to communicate with others and feel that they are contributing to the group, which I feel is like a very big component. I know that in a lot of our um, B blogs, sorry, from three, a lot of our teachers had said that kind of ELLs usually tend to be more shy, and it might be a lot for them to take in. So definitely being able to make them comfortable with what they are reading and feel that like they definitely can contribute to the group, I think is a very big thing. So I do think that the strategy is very helpful in that department. When creating a chart and jotting down the information that they have all gathered, the ELL is able to make the connection with the other students' information because they have that better understanding of that topic. According to the English language proficiency standards, there are 4 different levels for ELLs, and which I mean we all know, but by differentiating that instructional text, we're able to assist the students on the beginning, intermediate, advanced, and advanced high. So a step-by-step lesson that I would implement in my classroom or in my future classrooms or anything like that. And honestly, like I said, this is good in all different areas of content, and I can explain how. So the content that is covered in this lesson is going to be the grade level is second grade. Content area is science. The topic to be studied is physical characteristics of different animals. And then I have the takes right there. It's going to be to compare how physical characteristics and behaviors of animals help them meet their basic needs. In this lesson, we're really just focusing on the physical characteristics of the different animals. So step one would be to find a topic to study and gather several different levels of text at your students' reading levels. So the topic to study, of course, would be the physical characteristics of different animals. The animals that we would be studying would be birds, elephants, penguins, and lions. And then gather informational text at the reading levels that contain the specific animals that the students will study. So just if you can, I mean, second grade, you'll have different reading levels. Really look at and be able to like maybe even go to a library. I know that a lot of people have, um, and just kind of like ask like, hey, is there any informational text that I can have in this and this and this? And you're able to get a lot of these resources. Even I have found there's also things online that you can find, even small paragraphs that will give the students information even on their reading levels, which is really good as well. So just finding those texts is going to be a key component in this, that the students are going to be able to be comfortable reading and are going to understand. Um, so it's going to be that. For step two is organizing the groups. Consider the strengths and needs for each of your students and group them by 4 to 5. Consider that their group will need a strong reader and a strong writer. Just because, like in this lesson, you are going to be needing um, somebody that is able to be a strong writer and write down things towards the end of the present or towards the end when they put everything down on one sheet. Maybe one reader that is just like a solid reader that can read really quickly and kind of read it out loud to the writer. So that's going to be another thing to consider, and provide each student with a book that is at their instructional reading level. And I really can't stress that enough for this strategy. That is really, really going to be a big thing, is to provide your students with a book that is at the instruction reading level. You never want to give them an instructional reading level that is just way too high and gets frustrating. So step three, with students will complete a KWL chart. Excuse me. Have students before they start to read their informational text. Have their students start with the KWL chart. Students will write down and talk about what they know about the certain animal, which is going to be right over here. What do they know? And then, of course, as a class, I would like to say, because I don't want to leave it just to the groups themselves, I would definitely love to do it as a class so they can have everybody's input. We will talk about what they want to know about these certain animals and kind of even have like the breakdown of the same questions um, of what they want to know. And then for ELLs, students can draw what they know about the animal or to make the connections with the other groups. Um, so I think that's a big component is if you have a beginner or even an intermediate, ELL, I definitely think that pictures are going to be a big thing. The students are able to draw their pictures or maybe even point to certain things like um, for birds, maybe they can go ahead and they can draw the beak and they can point to that and know that, well, birds have beaks. So that's going to be like another little thing. And instead of like having beaks to eat, with elephants, they can go ahead and draw where they would have a longer nose, and they use their nose to kind of like lift food up and bring it towards their mouth. So, and just kind of pointing out those things, and they can definitely draw those out for that. Step four, students read their books and take notes. The students will read their informational text, have students talk within their groups about different things that they learn from their informational text, walk around as students are completing their charts together, and check for understanding. So this right here is just the students are going to start to read their text. And then right here, prepare students to present to the class. Each group will come up with a one page about 5 things that they learned about these animals. So they'll complete their KWL chart on the last part, and then each student is going to contribute at least one thing that they learned to the presentation. If the ELLs feel comfortable with drawing, like I said, what they saw would be fine as well. Adding a picture to this would definitely be very good. So if they're able to do that, that's awesome. Or even just like key vocabulary words that might stand out to them, they're able to write that as well. And that was the end of the lesson right there that I would do for collaborative reading. Adjusting to different grade levels. So adjusting the strategy to different grade levels would include, as a younger grade level, the teacher can do this as a whole group and still provide students with different level text to ensure that everyone is able to participate at their level. So what I mean by that is just like having the students get their text, they can read through it, and instead of maybe just focusing on 4 to 5 different animals, they can focus on maybe two. Some of the class has this animal and another class has a different animal, and just kind of splitting those apart, and the teacher's able to go back and forth with the class and maybe ask, like, what are some things that you're able to see, what are some things that you notice, what did you learn about this animal? And even with English language learners, they're able to point and kind of like, you're able to guide the student better. Even being at a carpet, I know we're not allowed to when we have COVID, but more than likely hope everything goes back to normal. But they're able to point and you're able to guide the students better off that way, which I think is more meaningful. So this could definitely be done at different grade levels. For the older grades, the strategy works out. It works the same way. Instead of a KWL chart, students can collect data, or create an entire presentation to conduct with the class. It's just totally up to the teacher how she wants to go ahead and do this, but it would be still the kind of the same thing. You still want to make that text like differentiated and making sure all students are being collaborative, and they are going back and forth with each other is going to be a key component. Um, Different content areas. Collaborative reading can be used in different content areas, like I've said. For ELA, the students can be given different reading levels on the same like folk tale, and students are able to relate based on the story itself, and the connections that they have between one another. Um, there are many other ways this can work, to benefit all students in ELA. And introducing what the setting is to students. They can work together to figure out different settings within different set of books that they were given to each student. So, I mean, just based off of that is like if you were introducing setting, every student has like maybe group students in a smaller group. Maybe instead of like 4 to 5, you would do like maybe 3, and each student would say like, okay, well, let's look at the way our book is, and figure out the setting that way. So there's different ways you can do this, definitely. The strategy can be used in social studies as well. Sorry, by still providing different level text on the topic that is being studied in the classroom. The students can work together to that can group together and talk about the things that they notice in their own text. So if they were studying maybe um, certain significant people in social studies. I think that would be a very big thing. Some students might be able to get maybe, for instance, the presidents, and they were to get maybe George Washington or Abraham Lincoln or Thomas Jefferson, different presidents, Barack Obama. Um, those things right there, like you can definitely find different level texts and have the students still contribute like key components in your research subject as to what is or what is the biggest facts for those presidents. These are my resources right there. I really do hope that everyone did enjoy my presentation and that I was able to assist everybody and help everyone with understanding what collaborative reading is and if that is a strategy you will use inside of your future classroom. Thank you.